So welcome everybody. I am honoured and delighted to say good friend Alan Gower here. Alan for 5 years was in the regiment and for 2 years head of selection and then head of training for SAS in Hereford. So you may have read all the books by all the famous ex-SAS people and the story behind the story, and the people like Alan would have been responsible for selecting them and then training them. So amazing to have you here, Alan. Thank you very much. And what we're going to do today is what gladiator tennis and training has been based on, which is the training behind the elite of the British military, the elite of the Top Gun fighter pilots and extreme adventure athletes. Those three groups of people, when push comes to shove, when they have to perform under pressure, have been trained to perform at their very best. So delighted to have Alan here today, and we're going to quiz and get some insightful answers, which I think will be meaningful and inspiring to us all. So Alan, to start, we've got three parts of the training for gladiator tennis training, and one of them relates to the first principle of war, which is the selection and the maintenance of the aim. And just want to spend a few minutes talking about maintenance of the aim, which is probably in civilian language, a commitment to achieving what you set out to achieve. And I'm just interested to know, first of all, how the SAS do it, and whether people could be trained to actually commit to something, or whether it's just something within them, and some people do and some people don't. How did you find it at selection?
I think the common idea that you have to be a certain type of person to do a certain type of thing, like to pass selection, is a fallacy. I think it's all about attitude. The one thing that runs through everyone that I know in the regiment is attitude. They all have the same attitude. They all have a desire to win.
Do you think that attitude, so it's interesting because obviously you've got to be a certain type even to get to selection. So were they kind of the best of the best in terms of attitude? And then if they weren't, how do you train attitude, or is it just born?
The people that turned up with the attitude that they were going to complete the course, those are the ones that completed the course.
Aha.
And I found that once I'd passed selection and went into the regiment, that attitude prevailed through all SAS thinking.
Okay, so I'm fascinated by all this. So kind of whatever level you might be, from beginner to intermediate to practitioner, master practitioner, elite, you're still at a level. So I think what you're saying is, at that top level, those that came committed to finishing the course, as to those that came thinking about it, or as a maybe, or we'll see how we got on, those that were committed to did, and those that were iffy didn't. Is that what you're saying?
Most certainly, that's what happens. If you turn up to do selection with the idea, I'll see how far I can get, or I'll give it a go, you're not going to last too long. If you think about it, I went to selection with what I call clean hands. The only reason I'd done the course was I wanted to work with that type of people, and I wanted to do that type of work.
So is that what clean hands means?
Yeah, in my opinion, yeah.
No, what does clean hands mean?
Well, I didn't want any sort of to be part of any sort of elite or anything that goes along with that, any idea of that. I want to work with the best possible people and to do the type of work that the SAS do. Okay. And that's the reason I joined the regiment. I don't like the image that the regiment are some sort of elite supermen. I don't like that image at all.
Okay. Okay. And obviously we think that you are elite supermen, but at the beginning you were ordinary people, and you're still ordinary people, exactly. just being trained really well. So I think a corollary for us is that for people joining gladiator tennis and training, which is a 10-week course, and the aim of the 10-week course is for all of us to achieve things in tennis that we've never achieved before, regardless of our age, sex and ability level, to achieve something that breaks the mold, and in 10 weeks. So I think what you're saying is, well, if you turn up with the attitude of, this is what I want, it pulls me towards it, it inspires me, and I've just set my stall out, I'm going to do it, chances are they'll do it.
I think so. They've every chance of succeeding if they have the right attitude.
Okay, and we have it kind of, I think, easy. So we're in our backyard. It's circumstances and people that we know, and clearly, 10 weeks of tennis training, albeit to achieve great things, is not like selection. What happened on selection? What tested people on their resolve? Because for us, although it's quite straightforward, we will have distractions. We will have business, we will have family, I want to do other things. And so all along the path, whether the distractions are small or large, there's still distractions, and we can be tempted by the little silver bauble or stay in bed a little longer. So what distractions did SAS have when they jumped out of their lorries and started training?
There are no distractions. You've got to be focused on the course. When you go out on to the area, you're all in the back of a 4-ton truck. You're all dropped at individual points because you're always on your own. We don't pair people up on selection. It's all down to the individual, and the individual has been given the coordinates of where he is, where he'll be dropped off, and he'll get the coordinates to where he's going. That individual has to get from point A to point B, then from B to C, C to D, etc., etc.
Okay.
The only distractions you'll have is whether the weather is very hot or very cold.
Okay, but you'll have the distraction as self. So all along the way, there'll be self speaking to you, going, "This is too hard. Why did you sign up for this for? There are other things you could be doing." So you'll at least have the battle with yourself to face.
Absolutely. As soon as you get out of the truck, the first thing you're going to be doing is going uphill. That is the very first thing you're going to be looking at, a big hill or a mountain. So you become aware that you're in pain straight away. You're carrying a lot of weight. You're going up a very steep, high hill. So you're aware that and the pain hits you straight away. What you have to do is focus on getting to the first checkpoint will be on the top of that mountain. So you've got to focus on getting up the mountain, finding the checkpoint, and getting the next checkpoint. You will be aware that you are in a lot of pain.
Okay.
But you have to. What I've always said is, it's the positive side of your nature defeating the negative side of your nature. Everything's telling you nothing's worth this. I'm in a lot of pain. I don't want to go on, etc., etc. And it's just your positive side of your nature defeating the negative side.
Before we go on, I'm just thinking for our audience, if you just turned your chair around a bit and spoke into camera, your words of wisdom would carry stuff. So that's good. So I think just to a conclusion then from the maintenance of the aim is two things. One, if you set your stall out, it will happen. And two, although you haven't described it as community, but if you're amongst like-minded people up for the same thing, a bit like the Musketeers, all for one and one for all, even though if you're doing it by yourself, you're still doing it because of community, team, regiment, what it stands for. Would that be right?
Certainly. On my selection, we finished with six of the guys that sat at the course, and we're still in contact today, and that was 30 years ago.
How many started the course?
188.
And 6 finished. And the 6 are still in contact. Great. Fabulous. So I think just the lessons for us are, and we discussed it in our training, is we gave you all the information of what the 10 weeks considers, what you want to achieve at the end of the 10 weeks, and that will also last you for a lifetime. And we also said to you, choose, and there's no good or bad, right or wrong, it's just a choice. So you can either choose to be in the 10 weeks and achieve everything you want to achieve, and this is probably something that you've been looking for all your tennis life, or choose not to. Remain part of the community, other things will happen, but choose not to. So there's not a halfway house. You either choose you do, choose you don't, everything's fine, but if you choose you do, then you've got to walk the walk and deliver on your word. Yeah, great. And we have a little tribe, a happy band of brothers, of gladiators, all wanting the same thing. So with the Facebook community and the webinar, we're all supporting everybody, and we could probably do a little motto that says, of the group, if one doesn't achieve, we all don't achieve. So we're in it for each other. Alan, that's great for commitment. Me personally, it might have been too much of a challenge, even though I was quite fit in the army to do selection. And now, if I can move on to the preparation for when the operation kicks off. The corollary for us is that for a big point, and we all know what a big point is in our game, because whilst pressure is just a conversation we have with ourselves, other people don't regard it as pressure. People regard danger and risk as something that sets them alive and where they perform at their best. And other people have an interpretation of pressure as freeze and fright and not do anything. So whilst each point carries the same point, for whatever reason, pressure points are something that our brain goes, or tiddly, the voice in our head screams and shouts at us, our gut and heart do funny things, and our feet feel as though they're nailed to the floor. That's the training for us to do at our best. So in our world, we've got 25 seconds from the setup point finishing and the big point starting, and training people to be at their optimum mental and physical best, so that when the gun goes off, to use that phrase, we know we're going to step up the plate. In your world, that might be a hostage situation or something that you've been planning for, and flash bang it goes. How do you train yourselves to be at that great optimum point?
When you're in the regiment, physical training is up to the individual. You keep yourself at a certain level of training. However, when you do an operation, we will find the situation, we'll replicate the situation, i.e. a hostage rescue, and then we'll practice, and then we'll practice, and then we'll practice, and we'll practice and practice until we get it right, until we cover every eventuality, even down to taking casualties. So
when you say practice, you would have identified the situation, and you might go, okay, this is attack, counter-attack, disrupt, defend, whatever it might be, that's what we want to achieve. Now we break down the drill into movements and sequence of skills, and then hone and practice the skills. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and we will do, to begin with, we'll walk through the situation. We'll take it from when we enter the building, right through to the end where we take the hostages out and secure the area.
Okay.
And what we'll do, we'll methodically go through every stage, and we will cover every eventuality that can occur during the operation.
Okay, and that's because I know when we used to strip our rifles and stuff, we used to do it blindfolded after a while. And I know you guys move at night, not at day, so you would do nighttime rehearsals once you've got the daytime rehearsals, yeah?
Yeah, if you're doing it, if it's not inside a building, if it's in a rural setting, then we will always move at night. We never move during the day. We always work at night. And so what we'll do the daytime rehearsals, and then when we've got all the wrinkles ironed out, when we're ready to go, we'll do the final night rehearsal. They usually go very well. Once everybody's happy with that, then we're ready to go. Okay.
So when you're ready to go, I would imagine that level. So first of all, knowing who you are as warriors and winners, and having done this training, I'd imagine when the go, you're in a good position. Do you have some belief about yourself, some confidence, any doubts going in your brain? How does it happen when the operation kicks off?
No, we regard every operation as going to be successful. We know we're going to achieve what we're put on the ground to do.
It's not a little gremlin of doubt.
No, we're absolutely positive, 100% certain that we will achieve what we're put on the ground to do.
Okay.
Absolutely certain. No doubt whatsoever.
Because I think A, of who you are, and B, that the analysis of the situation, the recce, the drills, the training, everything's looked at everything that could go wrong, sorted out everything that goes wrong, away you go.
Yeah.
Okay. And then how do you, because we previously talked about everybody has a kind of a fear I should be out of this situation, but then also about adrenaline kicking in.
When you first encounter enemy fire, the natural reaction is to freeze or to run away. And that's normal. Everybody has that same fear. Someone that says it doesn't have that fear is either telling lies or is wrong in the head. We all have that fear. But there's a period from taking initial fire to when adrenaline kicks into your system. It's a very small period, and that's the period you have to get over. Once you get over that period and the adrenaline kicks in, then you'll have no problems whatsoever. That alleviates any fear or any doubt you have, and it heightens your senses.
And the adrenaline, I'm just trying to say, so for us and for me, playing those match points, there is, for me, a contradiction of value. So a part of me needs to be still and calm and not cluttered with loads of stuff in my brain. But the other bit is about controlled excitement and adrenaline in order for me to perform at my best. Does that happen to you? What's the feeling? You know you're alive? Is this what you seek? Do you become a junkie for adrenaline?
No. When you have the adrenaline in that situation, it just heightens your senses. You see everything, you're aware of everything, you hear everything. You can
Things slow down?
Time seems to slow down because you're totally aware of everything that's happening. Information is being shouted all over the place, even by the enemy. And you can distinguish what is relevant to you, what's important to you, and what isn't. You immediately discard anything that's not meant for you, that's not important to you. You can discard straight away anything that is important, if it's coming from the left, the right, or behind.
Amazing.
Or from, you can distinguish in a millisecond if it's important to you, whether it's relevant to you at that particular moment in time.
I do find that amazing.
You're in a heightened state.
Okay, so all senses are on and all senses are firing. Eyes, because we have 50% of our senses are in our face, hands and feet. So we have a drill about activating those, so all senses are open and firing.
Yeah, it's aggression, but it's a controlled aggression. You know what you have to do. Obviously, if you're taking fire from the enemy, then you have to defeat the enemy, and you have to put more fire down. You have to be more aggressive than they are. So it's controlled aggression. We don't run amok. Everything is controlled. Every person in the unit, if you're working in we work in multiples of 4. If you're working in 4-man patrol, an 8 or a 12, you're aware of your particular part in this operation, and that's what you'll do. You're aware of what he's going to do, he's going to do what he's going to do, what he's going to do, and what you're going to do collectively as a unit, and that's what you do.
And what about? So in our world, and I think it's similar, there are 3 games going on at the same time. So in our world, we have movement and shots, and you would have the same thing, if that your shots would be different. We have a tactical game going on, and the enemy will be moving and reacting. And there's an emotional, mental game going on at the same time. So I imagine the same with yourself. On the emotion side, are you emotional or are you clinically detached?
I don't think you're either. You're certainly not emotional, and you're not clinically attached. You are aware. You've got to remember, you're responsible to hold your end up. You're responsible for the people to your left, and to your right, and that's the same for everyone in the unit. You're responsible for that. So you don't feel any sense of elation. It switches you on to what you're capable of doing, and you know you can do it because you're trained to do it. You're trained physically, you're trained mentally to do it, and you're trained collectively to achieve that. And
I suppose when you're finished and successful, then the emotion does kick in.
A sense of relief. But when it's over, you feel relieved more than anything else.
Okay.
That it went well, you didn't take too many casualties. Etc.
Okay. And then I used to be involved in an America's Cup, and there was a saying in the America's Cup, what's the difference between America's Cup and heroin? And the answer was it's easier to get off the America's Cup. and I just want to throw that to you, your training, SAS and battles, do you become, in the nicest possible way, if there's a nicest possible way, addicted to all the training, the community and the adrenaline?
It is addictive. The years I was in the regiment, you're on a high all the time. You're physically fit. You're switched on to everything. At any one time in the regiment, you'll be working on three different areas, 3 areas of importance, 3 different projects. So you know how to utilise manpower, and so you've got to be switched on all the time, and you do feel you're switched on to life in that setting. And everyone's the same. Everyone in the regiment's the same. Everyone's enthusiastic, not to the point of doing cartwheels.
No, sure.
How wonderful it all is, or anything, or anything like that. Everyone's aware of that. Everyone's on a psychological high and a physical high.
Great. So I think this has been personally fascinating. I hope the group worldwide would say the same thing. And we're not trying to compare, gladiator tennis and training with the regiment, but the corollaries are very similar in the fact that who we are as human beings, that we step on court, when the pressure's on, this is when our little human being pops out. So we need to train ourselves to kind of unleash the winner within ourselves and know ourselves capable of winning, because there is a fear of failure, there's a fear of success, there's a fear of being in the spotlight. There is the requirement to analyse a match situation, create a drill, break it down to shots, practice the shots, so that when the pressure's on, this is nearly automatic, robotic, emotionally unattached. Don't have to think about it, so that we have a little phrase going from conscious thought to unconscious reaction. Conscious thought, slow and mechanical, unconscious reaction, intuitive and quick. And you're talking about adrenaline and being in the zone, but the brain being as still and calm, as peaceful as it can be in that situation. And that is when you are able, and you've said it, the brain can do enormous mathematical, geometrical calculations. It can do enormous pattern recognition. It can sift out from all the mayhem what's important to you, what's not important to you, just by being in the zone. So all these things are applicable to us. I think with us, we seek out and embrace pressure. We like to win narrowly rather than win comfortably. There's no much juice in being comfortable, and that's when we know we're alive. And for us, whether we've got a trophy or not, being on the podium is where it's all about. And for you guys, it's life or death, a little bit more than winning or losing. Alan, it's been genuinely a phenomenal conversation for ourselves. I'm sure everybody watching it has got some benefits. Alan has agreed, subject to time commitments, to come on a webinar. So any questions and answers for Alan about winning, store them up. It's going to be a rich and fascinating conversation. Alan, thanks very much, mate.
Thank you.
That's perfect.